Good afternoon, Tap Tigers, or morning, or evening, whichever time it is. But it's Miss Rauscher, and I wanted to welcome you to learn today about government in Georgia. We're going to be examining the three branches of government in our state with our state legislature, which is the General Assembly. Then we'll move on to our executive branch, which is headed by our governor. And then lastly, we'll move on to the judicial branch, which is our courts in the state. First, I want to draw your attention, however, to some of the pictures that are on this title slide. In this corner, you can see the symbol for our state of Georgia, our state seal, along with the motto for our state, which is wisdom, justice, and moderation. You can see that our state was established as an official state in 1776. On the right side, you can also see a portion of our state flag, which was approved in 2003. And again, it repeats our state symbol and our motto, wisdom, justice, moderation, and it's surrounded by 3 stars, 13 stars, I can count, and that represents that Georgia was one of the original 13 colonies for the British government before we became the 4th state in the nation. The top picture here is the governor's mansion. Then you have the State Supreme Court of Georgia. And then lastly, this is the Gold Dome that's down in downtown Atlanta. And this is where our legislative branch meets. So we're going to go ahead and begin with our General Assembly, which is the name for our legislative branch. Again, our legislature is called the General Assembly. So you can see we have the General Assembly, which is the GA here in GA, which is the abbreviation for the state of Georgia. The General Assembly is the branch of government that is responsible for making laws. And our General Assembly is made up of 2 groups, which is similar to what our federal government is made of. There is a Senate and there is a House of Representatives. Our state constitution requires that our state Senate is made up of 56 members and that our state House of Representatives is made up of 180 members. There are different qualifications and terms for our state legislators. In order to be qualified to become a state legislator, a person must be a citizen of the United States. That person, in order to hold office in Georgia, must have been a Georgia citizen for at least 2 years before running for office, and then he or she must be a legal resident of the district they want to represent for 1 year before running for office. And as well, that person cannot be serving actively in the military. So let's say, for example, I wanted to run to be a state senator. I live in Paulding County, so that means I could only run for offices that are representing Paulding County. I could not try to be a Cobb County senator or a Fulton County senator because I reside in Paulding County. If I wanted to run for one of those offices, I would have to move to that district and I would have to live there for 1 year. There are age requirements as well to become a state legislator. If you are 21 years old and you meet all of these standards above, then you may run and become elected to the State House of Representatives. If you want to become a state senator, you must be at least 25 years of age and also meet these qualifications as well. In our General Assembly, our state senators and state representatives serve 2-year terms. We hold elections for these people in even-numbered years. So this year, in 2020, the members of the State House and the State Senate will be up for election or re-election. And lastly, there are no term limits to the members of our General Assembly. If a person is elected to the General Assembly, then they will meet for 40 days, beginning the 2nd Monday of January. And throughout the rest of the year, legislators may be called in for special sessions or to work in committees so that they can pass legislation, which is another word for laws. There are duties that our legislators must uphold. They must work to make laws that protect the well-being of Georgia citizens, create the state's annual budget, and they also must make amendments or changes to the Georgia Constitution. Each house or chamber of the General Assembly have specific powers that they are granted. If you recall from last week's lessons, these can be referred to as the balance of powers, and it also puts in place checks and balances. So the Senate specifically has the power to approve any person the governor appoints to specific positions in the state, And the Senate also may hold hearings for impeachment for members of the government who may have broken a law. Over in the House of Representatives, they have the specific power to introduce bills that raise revenue, which is money, and typically those are tied to taxation. As well, the House of Representatives determine how to appropriate funds, and that means they get to assign money, and they have to choose where the money that the state raises is going to go. So that might be assigned to specific agencies or set aside for a specific purpose. And lastly, in the House of Representatives, it is the House of Representatives that will bring impeachment charges against a member of government that may have committed a wrongdoing, and then it will be sent up to the state Senate in order to conduct the hearing for impeachment. In the General Assembly, ideas for new laws or bills are assigned to a committee, which is a group that is related to the topic of the bill. Committees study a topic, they'll hold public meetings and present their findings before presenting a bill to be voted on. So let me give you an example. Let's say that a legislator wanted to introduce a bill to add seatbelts to school buses. They would have meetings in the community, get feedback from community members. They would also talk to bus drivers. They might talk to students, and they also would do surveys to find out if that is something that the public is interested in having. If that is the case, they will craft the legislation, meaning they will write up what the law says, and then they will bring it before all members of the House or the Senate. And if it's decided that this is a bill that the General Assembly wants to pursue, it would be assigned to a committee, such as the Education Committee. Each session, either the House or in the Senate, they have legislators that get assigned to the committees, and there are leaders that direct this. It's kind of like being a crossing guard outside of the school. You want to make sure that the traffic flows and that everyone knows where they're supposed to be and what they're supposed to be doing. So over in the Senate, the lieutenant governor is the leader of the Senate. Now, there may be instances that the lieutenant governor is unable to attend meetings of the General Assembly, so the people of the Senate select what is called a president pro tempore, which is Latin, meaning temporary, and that person will serve if the lieutenant governor is unable to be there. Over in the House, the person is called the Speaker of the House. The other members of the House select a person among them to become the Speaker of the House. They also select a Speaker pro tempore, for temporary, who will serve if the Speaker is unable to attend. Also, within the General Assembly, every legislator has to be on committees. Senators must be on at least 3 committees, and representatives have to be on 2 to 3 committees. Here are some photos showing you Georgia's legislature in action. This is one of the chambers. This is the Senate, and here you can see members are voting and raising their hands to either have attendance taken or for them to say yay or nay to a bill. This would be a committee meeting and discussing different aspects of a bill, and these might be members of a committee voting to hear or pass forward the idea. So the next question is, how does a bill eventually become a law? Well, first it has to start as an idea, and then it becomes a bill, and then maybe, if it's lucky, it will become a law. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to see Schoolhouse Rock and the classic I'm Just a Bill, but hopefully you'll be able to click on the link and take a look at that if you've not done so already. But there are many steps in the process for a bill to become a law. This is done on purpose because we want to make sure before a law is passed that the ideas involved within it have been studied and debated to make the best possible impact on citizens. So in the beginning, a bill is an idea. So either a citizen or a member of the legislature comes up with an idea that she or he thinks would be a benefit to citizens. If a legislator thinks the idea would be beneficial, the legislative process begins. So first, we have the drafting. Now, you know in ELA that sometimes you have to write a rough draft before you produce your final draft, and that's exactly what drafting is in the legislature. So the drafting process means that the idea, is written up by legislators with the help of lawyers. And then, once that is complete, the senator or the representative is going to introduce the bill to their chamber. If the lieutenant governor in the Senate or the Speaker of the House in the House believes that the bill is good, it will then be assigned to a committee. Now, at this point, the leaders may decide it's not worth pursuing and that bill could die. But if bill is not killed, then the bill will go on to committee consideration. In the committee consideration, the committee is going to study the issue. They're going to decide if the bill should move forward. They might make changes to the bill through their studies and their debates. They may decide to kill bill, and if they kill bill, then bill will not move on. But if bill survives the committee consideration round, then bill goes to floor consideration. So if bill makes it out of committee, it is read to all the members of the chamber where it began. So if it was a representative that brought up the idea, then the entire House of Representatives will hear the bill. If it started over in the Senate, then all the members of the Senate will hear the idea. If it passes, then the bill is sent over to the other chamber where the process starts all over again. The leader of the other chamber could decide not to allow the bill to be assigned to a committee and the bill could die. Or the bill can be assigned to a committee. If the bill does not pass in the other chamber, then it dies and it cannot be brought up again during that legislative session that year. So bill would have to wait until the next legislative year to be brought up again. But if bill makes it that far through both committees and both chambers, then bill gets sent to the governor for the governor's consideration. But it has to be the same version of the bill. You can't have one set of rules in the House bill and one set in the Senate bill, so they have to come to an agreement. And if you'll look at the bottom, it says that if the same version of a bill is not agreed on between the Senate and the House, then each chamber will send several members to become a joint committee, and they will try to hammer out an agreement and reach a compromise on the bill. If they're not able to come up with a compromise, then bill dies. But if the bill passes both houses and it does not change, then it is sent to the governor for consideration. The governor has the option to do one of three things. First, the governor can sign the bill and bill becomes a law. Secondly, the governor can veto, which means to say no. And if this happens, it doesn't necessarily mean the bill is dead. What would happen is that if 2/3 or 66% of the General Assembly vote to override the governor's veto, then the bill will automatically become a law without the governor's signature. The third option in the state of Georgia is that the governor can leave the bill on his or her desk for 45 days. They can do nothing to the bill, and then eventually the bill becomes a law. Now, I provided a link to you to the YouTube version. Well, actually, the YouTube link to the Schoolhouse Rock, I'm Just a Bill. So I hope that you take a moment to read and watch this if you haven't already. But understand, it's talking about in this video how a United States bill becomes a law, but the process is very similar in the federal government with how laws become or bills become laws in the state of Georgia. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and end this. Tune in next time to learn directly about Georgia's executive branch. Take care.